All right. So first of all, I wanted to thank you everyone for joining us. This is Tommy. I am the technical supervisor at Anabon Security. I was taking a look at the participants that we have in here, and as I see all the names here, we've been working with some of you guys on the technical side on different kind of projects, starting from small residential projects, 4 or 5 cameras, ending up to huge number of cameras, commercial projects. Yet I unfortunately didn't have the pleasure to meet all of you, but I'm more than happy to have you all in here, and hopefully we can grow in field of CCTV surveillance security systems together. One thing that I like about these webinars is everything is and will be created based on your requirements, frequently asked questions, feedback, and all your needs. So feel free to ask any questions if you do have any during the webinar. There's a Q&A button down there, which you can click on that and go and type down the question. If you do have any questions, I do have my colleague Leonardo in backstage, which he will cover all the questions. And in meanwhile, there's a section that will take care of all the questions that you might have. If it's something that we can answer and have a short conversation, we'll just cover it in the same webinar. If it's something that we can provide you more detailed conversation and a documentation like the one that I'm going to show you right now, we will go with the next webinar next month, and we'll cover those all in that one. So in today's webinar, we're not going to cover a detailed installation guide. Like, we're not going to say anything about the configuration side of the cameras, and we're not going to go deep in the technical side, but we're going to have a brief overview on how to choose the proper model of NVR and camera based on the project and the need that your customer has. And we're going to compare the different cameras based on hardware and software, and we're going to compare different NVRs, and we're going to find the proper model for the project that you're dealing with. So we'll cover 4 specs in this meeting. Will be a quick setup guide for CCTV cameras, starting from which model am I going to choose for my project and why. And right after I do have everything in place and all the physical installation is done, now how can I find all the cameras on the network, and how can I add them on the NVR or the VMS? We'll continue speaking about some basic batch configurations, like changing the IP address of the cameras, how to find different brands if you're mix and matching different brands together in the project that you're dealing with. And after that, we will talk about all the AI features that we have out there in the market, and we will compare different cameras together in that side. We will end up the meeting having a brief conversation about ONVIF standards when it comes to using different brands and mix and match different cameras and NVRs together. What should I do on the camera side? What should I take care about on the NVR side? Is everything going to be working together, and or I need to worry about something? So here I do have a drawing of a small residential project as an example. As you can see, we're talking about 3-4 cameras with a PoE switch and a non-PoE NVR connected directly to a monitor. So everything is on the same network. There's no built-in PoE NVR. Cameras are not connected to the back of the NVR, but we can go with that one as well. Like if I'm dealing with 10, 15, 16 cameras, I can go with the built-in PoE NVRs, or I can go with the switch, and that doesn't matter. The only difference that I will have would be, if I go with the built-in PoE NVRs, it would be more secure type of connection, because the NVR can see the cameras can see the NVR, but customer cannot see the cameras that way because they're not on the same network physically. Like on the NVR, on those built-in PoE NVRs, we do have 2 isolated networks. One is the LAN port and one is all the PoE ports together. But let's say that we want to extend this project. So I'm going to just bring a paint here so that we can have some drawings together. If it's just a simple project that I'm dealing with, up to 16 cameras, you've seen in different brands that they do have the NVRs with 16 built-in PoE ports. So if we're talking about up to 16 cameras, I can go with those NVRs and connect all the cameras directly to the back of the NVR, and everything will be fine. I can connect the router to my LAN port, and that's a go. When can I not use that NVR in the project? Let's say we're dealing with more of a distance, so I can go with PoE switches, or the customer, it's a complicated network that we're talking about. They already have switches in the network. So I'm going to use those switches and bring all the cameras online. But when you're dealing with more than 16 cameras in a single project, that way, we need to go with the non-PoE NVRs, and that's extendable. Let's say we are dealing with 40 cameras. So I can just connect my LAN, port off the NVR to the switches that I have. Those switches are all cascade together, so they're connected, hardware together, and they're bringing all the cameras for me to be able to add them on the network. So I can connect the switches using the uplink ports together, and then I can connect the last connection to the LAN port of the NVR, and it'll just bring all the cameras online. Now, let's say we're dealing with a hotel, 10 different floors. On each floor, we're going to have 100 cameras. There is not much of a difference. It's a hotel, 10 floors. Okay, so let's say I'm just going to draw something here so that we can kind of have an idea what we're dealing with here. So let's say we do have different floors. I mean, in most of the projects, they will have an IT room with a rack inside, so we can put everything, including the NVR and the server, in that rack. So we'll just run a hardwire to the second floor. We'll go with a PoE switch there, and everything is connected to that PoE switch. Now, another switch on the next floor, more cameras. There is no limitation. If we're dealing with 100 cameras, 200 cameras, we can go with dual, triple, or quad LAN NVRs so that we can have multiple connections to the NVR in regards of bandwidth. Now, can I connect my cameras wirelessly? No worries. I'm just going to connect a router to the switch that I have in here. And all the cameras that I have in that floor are connected wirelessly to the router. So they are still on the same network. Now, there is no way of having a hardwire. There is no way of having a wireless connection using a router. The only thing that we can go is radio. Again, no worries. I will connect my receiver, like the mesh system, the peer-to-peer connection radio that I have. So I will connect the radio receiver to my switch here. And on the other side, wherever it is, depending on the distance and the type of the radio that I'm using, I will go with another PoE switch, and I will connect more cameras. Still, those cameras are on the same network. I can make them online, and that's a go. Now, let's say it's a desert. There is no radio connection, no wireless connection, no hardwire, nothing. But still, there's a chance that I can put, I mean, in desert, we cannot go with LTE connection, but let's say that's the only way that we have. Like, we want to have a standalone camera powered up using solar connection and sending all the data over internet using an LTE router with the same box, or with the 4G, 5G capability inside the camera itself. Like in my site, we do have some different models here, which I'm going to show you. So as you can see, the camera itself will support 5G. So I can put in a SIM card inside the camera, make it online, a standalone, it will work, and I can connect that to my NVR over an internet connection. Now, if there's no way of providing power, I can go with the solar kit to power off the camera as well as the data. So basically, on any type of project, we will come up with a solution, and it's not that much hard to do the hardwire and the physical installation, but let's say we do have everything installed. Now what? We're going to cover that later. Just to give you an example, I do have some different models of NVR here. So beginning with the 5-channel 4PO NVR, great for small projects, 4 cameras. We can connect them directly to the NVR and provide the internet connection using the LAN port. 10-channel 8PO NVR, 20-channel 16PO NVR, and 80-channel non-PO NVR. We can go with 160-channel, 320-channel. There is no limitation. And they are all the same when it comes to configuration. The only thing that we need to care about is the IP of the cameras and the network configuration that we have in there, because we need to make sure that we put all the cameras in the same range. Like, if I'm connecting all the cameras to the back of the NVR itself, I need to make sure that the NVR can see them over the network. Well, there is a word out there called plug and play, and that means the PoE ports that we have on the NVR itself, as soon as you connect a brand new camera out of the box to one of those, it will just come up, it will assign an IP address automatically, and boom, we do have the live view. No special configurations needed. But later on, let's say we do have another camera which we configured before, and it's already having an IP address and another password on it. So if I'm trying to connect that camera to the back of the NVR, I need to make sure that I make it the same range of IP address. Or if I'm bringing all the cameras using the LAN connection on the NVR, I need to make sure that they're going to be the same range of IP address of the LAN port. By default, to give you an example on Tiandi side, the PoE IP range is going to be 3.168.3.2. So all the cameras that I'm connecting directly to the back of the NVR, they're going to be 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, everything in range of 3. LAN port, we don't have any limitation on it. We can change it. We can make it DHCP. We can make it same as the customer's network. And on that one, let's say it's 192.168.1 dot something. So all the cameras going to be 1 dot something. Unless we're talking about a complicated network that they do have specific subnet mask on it, that they can see different ranges within each other. And in that way, for sure, there's an IT guy there that they can help us to figure out what IP address to put on the NVR and on the cameras. So on the NVR side, what should I take care about? I should take care about the number of the channels that it supports, whether I'm going with the built-in PoE NVR or the non-PoE NVR. Is that NVR going to handle, let's say it's a 10-channel NVR. If I connect 10 4K cameras, is it going to handle the needed bandwidth? If I want to have a month of 24/7 recording with 10 4K cameras, is that NVR going to bring me the requirement? Well, we're going to calculate that. And let's say on 10 cameras, 4K, we're going to have two 14 terabyte hard drives as an example. Then in that side, I cannot go with one slot hard drive NVR. I need to make sure that I go with a dual slot hard drive NVR so that I can put in 2 hard drives to cover the recording. Now on the camera side, there are a lot of differences. I mean, IP today, as you can see here, more than just image. So at some point, it was just an image. I want a camera to be installed at my front door. I want to have an image, see what's going on when I'm not at the house. But right now, they want to scan the area. If it's a human being passing by, if it's a vehicle, if it's a plate that I want to capture, if it's a face that I want to recognize, I want the camera itself to fire up the siren. I want the camera itself to fire up a laser and start following objects. If it's snowing and I'm not at the house, I want the camera itself to just wipe it out. So as technology grows, we have different cameras, different features, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So I do have some examples here. So built-in microphone, built-in speaker, built-in light. That light can be useful in order to provide you a colorful image at night, or in order to be used as an active deterrent solution. So when somebody goes in front of the camera, it will just fire up the light. It can flash or go continuous on. Built-in wiper, we already discussed that one. Built-in heater, let's say it's a specific area with a specific temperature that I don't want the camera to, give me a foggy image. So I'll go with a built-in wiper on that one. Built-in heater on that one, sorry. Built-in laser, I don't see that in many brands. On Tiandi, we do have that on the PDZ side. So as soon as you start following the object, it will shoot a green laser in order to, to be used in active deterrent solutions. Built-in siren, radar, that's for the LPR cameras. So let's say we're talking about capturing license plates. As we're talking about LPR cameras, I'm going to show you something else here. Let me just bring it up. So on LPR, one of the focus brands out there is MileSight. Everything that you see in MileSight, they're focused on LPR. They will grab the license plate, type of the car, color of the car, color of the plate itself, even the brand of the car. It will tell you if it's a Toyota or not. And it will capture the plate, even if it's pitch dark. So the purpose of the camera, especially when it comes to LPR cameras, is just to capture the plate, not to provide a colorful image. So you may install a camera and see that when it comes to the nighttime, I don't see nothing. It's just all black, but I see plates, and that's what the camera is trying to find out. If you're trying to capture the color of the car at night, we need to take care about an external source of light, or we can go with the color maker camera on the other side. So we do have all the information here, and that camera is designed and it's configured, and we do have that kind of image processing in it so that it can recognize the plate number. On some of those LPR cameras, they do have radar so that they can recognize the speed of the vehicle as well, up to 170 miles per hour on the latest models. As I checked the spec sheet, we can handle that. Audio out, audio in cable. I do have a PDZ installed somewhere up there. It's not much of a good sound when it comes to the microphone or the PDZ itself, so I do want to be able to connect my external microphone to it. it's a construction site. Nobody hears the speaker of the camera itself. I want to be able to connect an external huge speaker to the camera. So we do have audio out. Alarm in, alarm out cable to be notified physically, or for the camera to get notified physically. Solar panel, SD card to provide you with a standalone option. So that's about the hardware. You may see tons of different features comparing different brands. Now let's go with the software side here. One example that I have on the software side will be AI capabilities, and we're going to cover some of those here. So we do have tripwire as an example. That's just line crossing. And let me just show you in action. So do have this camera here. So let's say we're dealing with a tripwire. So I can just draw an area, a line, I'm sorry. So if anybody crosses the line, I'm going to be notified. And I can make it the other side as well. If we're talking about a perimeter, so I can draw an area and make it sensitive to people, cars, or both. I do have missing object detection, loitering detection, running detection. Let's cover it on the PowerPoint itself. So on duty detection, I do have a guard. I don't want them to leave and don't come back after 10 minutes. I want the camera to notify me that, hey, this person is not working anymore here. And I can have it on my phone as the owner of the property, see what's going on. License plate recognition, that's one of the AI features. Missing object detection, suspicious object detection. Somebody runs and they just left a bag there and want to find out what's going on. Safety helmet color detection. At this time of the day, only those guys, those electrician guys can get into the construction site with the specific color helmet of each of the person that we can specify. Car park detection, loitering detection, and face recognition. Let's say it's a jail, it's a school. So we can give the camera some faces that we know. We don't want them to be here. If they're here, just notify us. And that one is going to be face recognition. So Leonardo, if so far we do have any questions that we can cover here, that would be great if you can share it with me so that I do have this Q&A here. Or if any of you, ladies and gentlemen, you have a question, you can just type it in Q&A, and I'll see it here. And keep in mind, it's not about all the questions that you have regarding this meeting. It can be one of your requirements that you want us to talk about in the future webinars. Right, seems that we're doing good on the queue. Oh, I do have one here. Oh, they're just coming in one after one. How easy is the push notification process? That depends on the brand. But let's, as an example, go with Tiandi or MildSite. So you install all the hardware, you do have everything up and running, you do have all the live views. Now you do have you on your phone scanning the QR code, and that's it. There is an option on the phone itself called alarm, which you can make it enabled. It will start sending you all the notifications. Now for each of the cameras, you can specify that I want to just receive notification when this type of AI is happening. I don't want my phone to be spammed when there's motion, because motion is not something smart. While we're on this question, let me have a short overview on motion as well. So motion detection is not something smart on all the cameras. It's just based on pixel change. So anything changed in the image of the camera, I will just notify you. So what's the use case of the motion? Why do we still have it on the cameras at the age of 2024? It's just because of the recording. So let's say it's a shop that I close the door when I go home and nobody, not even a fly, would be there at nighttime. So I don't want the camera to record when nothing is happening. So we'll use motion in that side, in the recording side. But AI is something specific. I just want to be notified only if it's a valid human being passing by. What's the difference between early warning and VCA? There is not much of a big difference. Like early warning is a combination of all those AIs. We combine them all together just for the installer to install everything easier. When you go with the early warning tab here, let me show you. So VCA is the part that I configure AI, video content analytics, but I can go with early warning here and configure it from here. There is no difference. If my camera supports early warning feature, it will come up in here. So I make it enable. I say that I'm just looking for human beings, and I will give it a time, and that's it. But VCA you will have more hands on the configuration when you configure it from VCA. Would you please tell more about built-in Viper? Well, that's a feature that we have on some of the PDZs. In different brands, they do have it on some of the PDZs. So when it's snowing or raining, it will automatically wipe out the lens so that you will have a crisp, clear image out from the camera. Connecting cameras and NVRs to alarm and access control. How is that doable? Well, that's a really good question. You know, I will just have a short conversation about it, but let me cover that in the future webinar that we have, because that's something that we can spend an hour talking about. It can start from a basic ONVIF integration that we have. So the NVR will connect to the alarm access control system that you have over ONVIF, or it can be over RTSP, or it can be over the physical connection, like the alarm access control system that you have. That one accepts alarm ins. Now your camera and your NVR does have alarm outs. Like in one of the recent projects that we did, we connected one of the PDZs that we have, the 8 megapixel PDZ, to 8 different cameras. So those 8 cameras, let's say camera number 1 detects someone. It can call the PDZ physically using alarm out of that camera, going to alarm in of the PDZ. It can call the PDZ, say, hey, something is going wrong here. So the PDZ will just spin around and take a better look on that part. If camera number 2 does that, the PDZ will take a better look on that one, because that PDZ is capable of zooming in up to 44x. So we can have a detailed image of the face of the person coming into the area. But that question, I'm going to cover that in another webinar. I will maybe we can even do that in action so that we can integrate 2 different brands together, see how it goes. All right, no other questions, so I will just continue to speak about the other subjects that we have in here. Let's go. Search tool. What's search tool? All right, so everything is installed. I do have everything hardwired. All the cameras are installed. They are connected to the NVR, but I don't see them in the NVR, or even I want to just find them on the network itself, a standalone. What can I do? So search config tool is the search tool for TND. We do have config tool, which is for Dahua. We do have smart tool, which is for mild side, which we do have I don't recall the name, but it was like IPC tools for the other brand. So each brand will provide you with a search tool. Because when we're talking about network, let's say the laptop is 192.168.1. something. You don't know the IP address of the camera. You got a customer giving you a call. Hey, we do have some existing cameras here, which we need you to find out the IP address and add them to the new system that you're installing. So if I go with the regular search tools like advanced IP scanner, angry IP scanners, those IP scanners, they cannot find the camera unless they are in the same range of IP address with the camera itself. But search tool of the brand, they will include the MAC addresses. So using search config tool, you will find all the TND cameras and NVRs, even though if you're not in the same range of IP address. It will show them, but then we can change the IP address. Using the search config tool of Dahua, you can see all the Dahua cameras and NVRs and nothing else. If you want to see all the brands of cameras on your network, there's another tool called ODM, ONVIF Device Manager, but even ODM needs to be in the same range of IP address because it doesn't have all the MAC addresses out there. I'm not much of a presentation guy, so let's see that in action, see how it goes. So search config tool, I do have it here. It shows some NVRs and it shows some IPC/PDZ. So it's either an IP camera or a pan tilt zoom. All right. And I do have an old decoder here. It's like as old as my grandfather, I would say, still working. And I see them all in here. There are different IP addresses. I can check them all. Now here's what is this tool useful for technicians? I can do those configurations through batch on multiple cameras at the same time. Let's say it's a project, we do have 200 cameras, which we want to connect them all to a Vigilance server. One of the requirements that they asked us, you need to change the stream settings of the camera to be H.264 instead of H.265. Now, instead of having to, log into each of the cameras and change it from H.265, Randy's, it's not showing. Oh, you don't have the search config tool? Anybody else having the same problem? Let me see. We shared the wrong screen here. Sorry about that. What about now? There we go. Sorry about that. All right, so I see all the cameras and NVRs here again, and it says NVR, IPC, or PDZ, and decoder. I can check them all here and then go for stream settings and change them all from H.265 to H.264. I can change all the IP addresses at the same time. Like I can go with device setting, network parameters, and I will ask for the starting IP address, let's say 192.168 as an example, 1.100. It will change them all to 100, 101, 102, 3, 4, 5, 6, till all the 16 devices that I have. Everything you see on the left side, I can do on multiple devices at the same time. Log in, log out, reboot device, forgot password. And if I go for device setting, I do have codec setting, OSD setting, so I can change the time of the camera, NTP, time server, access platform. I can make it ONVIF enabled, or I can disable the ONVIF because of security reasons and other stuff that we have here. We do have three short, let me see. So we do have two small tools that I can cover as well, which can be useful. As we discussed at the beginning of the webinar, let's say we want to calculate the storage that we need, the amount of hard drive that we need to put in the NVR. So I can go with storage capacity tool. I can say that I'm dealing with 100 5-megapixel H.265 cameras. Now I do have 110 terabyte hard drive, which is not even a day of recording. Let's see, 2 days of recording 24/7. Or I can say that I'm looking for 4 weeks of recording 24/7. It's 124 terabytes. So I can divide between the number of the hard drives. I can choose the proper model of the NVR, and that's a go. Again, I can calculate the bandwidth as well as the storage here. So I can find out the NVR being able to support 400 megabits per second in and 400 megabits per second out if I want to see all the cameras at the same time on the network, which for sure on the 160 channel NVR that we have, it will support much more bandwidth than 400. We're talking about 100 cameras, so in that side we'll go with a huge NVR with a lot of capacity. SDV conversion tool. So one of the common problems that might happen is you download the footage, but we cannot play it in Windows Media Player, or it plays but there's no audio. Like it cannot recognize the format of the file. So I can convert it from SDV, which is the default format on TND, to MP4 to make it playable on all the video players out there. But even on the NVR itself, there's an option that I can say from now on, I want to have all the footage to be stored as MP4 or AVI. And clean plugin if something goes wrong with the web interface. Now let's have a conversation about ONVIF. So, I mean, why should we go with different cameras in the same project? Why don't we go with all TND, all Dahua, all Hikvision? Because as we discussed before, each brand out there is focused on something. Like when it comes to Milesight is focused on LPR cameras. Not that TND doesn't have LPR cameras, but I cannot find those accurate LPR and those kind of features that Milesight LPRs has on TND side. Let's say I want to go with an industrial camera with the same project that I have those interior and exterior normal cameras. So that industrial camera is from another brand that I want to connect to the same system. Let's say I do have 100 cameras. I don't want to record them on the NVR. I want to be able to connect them to the cloud platform that I have. I want to be able to connect them to the server that I use, to the online VMS that I already have the subscription for all the customers that I have. That's the place that ONVIF comes in. So that's a language in common that all the cameras have and all the NVRs have out there. They are not same when it comes to configuration and the level that support ONVIF, but we can check it out. So if you search for ONVIF members, there's this website, onvif.org, which you do have the member list here. So you can see here that which brand is a full member, which brand will support all the features over ONVIF, and how much of capability do we have on ONVIF when we're dealing with that specific model of camera, if it loads. Absolutely. There we go. So as you can see, we only have 24 full brands supporting ONVIF out there. You will find Tiandi as one of those brands. We do have Honeywell, Hikvision, Dahua, Axis, ONVIF. So those brands, they do have a full contract with ONVIF. That means anything that I'm manufacturing, I will make sure that it will work with ONVIF. I will make sure that you can connect and mix and match that camera and NVR to other brands. So you can check it from here. Now there's another thing called ONVIF profiles. So that's the level of integration that you can have on ONVIF. They do have different profiles, different levels. We're talking to someone from another country. They know English, but how well can they communicate when it comes to English? Are they just like, we can start a conversation, become friends, or are we able to talk about business together? So that's the level of ONVIF that they support. Out there, we usually use S, T, G, and M. So as you can see, I can go with profile S, see what profile S says, and it will describe that if both sides, like your camera and your third-party other brand NVR or vice versa, if both sides, they do support profile S, they will be able to do these. Like they will be able to record, they will be able to send motion alerts or ONVIF. So we do have the specs here. Latest one is profile M, and that means this camera will be able to send metadata over ONVIF. So even if it's a AI feature that you're looking to integrate that camera with another NVR, like I'm dealing with Hikvision NVR, now I'm trying to connect one of the Tiandi PDZs to that NVR. Are we going to be able to see all the AI analytics? Are we going to be able to configure that? If both sides support profile M, we can see those alerts over ONVIF. On Tiandi, we do have it on the latest versions. On other brands, they are trying to provide it in all the firmwares. It's pretty much new. Profile M is out there for not a long time, so they are trying to provide it with all the firmwares. They are trying to upgrade all the NVRs and cameras that they have, so that there would be no limitation for you guys to go with any kind of project. What camera do you need? I don't have it in Tiandi. I can bring another brand. What camera do you need here? You do have all the Hikvision cameras. Now I do have a laser shooting PDZ from Tiandi, which I'm missing on the Hikvision, or vice versa. I want to be able to recognize a plate, which I don't have in any brands that good that we have in the mild side, so we can mix and match together. Now, that aside, something which comes handy is how can I configure that camera to be ONVIF enabled? On some of the brands, you need to get into each of the cameras, go with the configuration. There is a part called ONVIF. Then you need to create a user for ONVIF and make it ONVIF enabled. So by default, ONVIF is not enabled on it. So if you connect the Hikvision camera to the back of the Tiandi NVR, you will not see that unless you get into the camera interface itself and make it ONVIF enabled. On Tiandi, one of the things that I like about Tiandi is everything out of the box is ONVIF enabled. Plug it in, you will find it. And it will support profiles STG and even M on the latest versions. So I don't have to create a user. I don't have to get into each of the cameras. And as soon as I get into the camera itself or the NVR itself, I can see that the ONVIF capability is on. Let me see if I can bring it up here so that I can show it to you. Like if I go with, here it is. Configuration, network, and access platform. ONVIF is checked by default. Now, one other thing that we tried recently to make cameras work even better with ONVIF, like if we're talking about Tiandi 2 years back, we did have face recognition NVRs. So the NVR was in charge of doing the face recognition. The NVR was in charge of recognizing the face of the object and processing the image. More hits, more cost, and less durability, less reliability when it comes to the NVR itself. If the camera itself does the job, I do have 100 cameras. Each of the cameras, they are smart. They do have a main board and an IC and a GPU and a graphic card, the GPU on the camera itself, so that they can recognize the face. It can do the AI on the camera side itself for me. So that's what standalone means. When I do have a PDZ, which is laser shooting, the PDZ itself, I can get into it and do all the configurations, and it will scan the area. It will follow the object for me. I don't have to do it or on the NVR side, and I don't have to rely on the NVR. So back to the discussion that we had about ONVIF, connecting TND cameras to other brand NVRs, VMSs, cloud solutions out there. You can connect the TND camera. You don't have to worry about the AI features, because all the AI features, we're doing that on the camera side itself, not on the NVR side, not on the VMS side. There are some exceptions, as you asked that question about how can we mix and match cameras with access control systems. Like if we're dealing with Eagle Eye will work on RTSP. So it doesn't care about if your camera supports ONVIF, if it's AI, if it's a smart, if it's pro, ultra light, anything with an image, you can connect it to Eagle Eye. If we're talking about MX, like Checked Bridge out there, that's one of the other cloud solutions that we work with. And in MX, they want to receive AI analytics using email. So you need to configure email server on your camera or on your NVR. So when something happens, camera or NVR will send an email to the server. Server will transcribe that to AI alerts. So it depends on the brand that we're working, but recently we tried so hard to get in contact and communicate with different brands: Eagle Eye, Vigilon, Axis, Milestone, Milesight, Genetech, to make it compatible and make sure that we can mix and match the product with those. So that was basically about it. We do have a short time remaining, which we can again go with the questions if we do have any. Leonardo, if you can share it with me if we do have any questions in here, that would be great. And on our side, I mean, the technical support is 24/7, and using that email address that you see in here, or directly to my number or my email address, you can send all your recommendations, or even you can send it to me. And let's say I want you guys to speak about how to configure this or how to integrate that type of camera with that type of NVR. We will provide you with a documentation containing all the requirements and needs that you have next webinar. Any questions so far? Oh, we're doing good. Can the alarm and notification be turned off by the app? It can, yeah. I mean, by default, it's not even enabled. When you do have everything online, it's not enabled. So you need to enable that, because you may don't want to have those push notifications on your phone. So that's something that you can enable on the phone app itself. And since it's by default disabled, we don't have to worry about that one. Can you show setting the PDZ on VCA? Let me see. I mean, I don't have a PDZ local here that I can share, but let me see if I can bring one of the remote ones here. So basically, it's going to be the same thing. I can go with the VCA and configure the PDZ. One thing that I always recommend is when you're dealing with specific cameras like laser shooting PDZs, it would be great if you can get into the camera itself and do the configurations there. Because the NVR, is there to handle all the general features and general configurations. If it's only 1, 2, 3 cameras of that brand supporting that feature, you're not able to configure it on the NVR side unless you get into the camera itself. On the NVR side, you will have the general one. So I can go with different rules here, setting up 8 different rules to work on this scene, and each of those can be different type of AIs that my camera supports. But if I get into the PDZ itself, I can go with different scenes, different timings. Like I want the PDZ to stay at the front door for 10 minutes, scan there, then after that go back to the backyard and scan there for another 10 minutes and switch in between. That's something that I can do in the PDZ itself. It's not something hard to configure, but one of the things that we'll cover for sure would be configuring cameras on the AI side and testing them out just to make sure we're doing good on that side. Can I connect a RJ45 splitter to the last port of the 5-channel NVR and have 6 cameras online? Unfortunately not. If it's a 5-channel NVR, it will support 5 cameras. You can connect those 5 cameras, like let's say we do have 4 cameras on the PoE, 1 camera on the LAN, 5 cameras on the LAN, that doesn't matter. 3 cameras on the LAN, 2 cameras on the PoE, that's okay. But we cannot go with an extra camera. I mean, first of all, we do have an extra license on TND, like on other brands, you do have 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and go on. But on TND, you do have 5, 10, 20, 40, 80. So on 5-channel, you do have 1 extra. On 10-channel, you do have 2 extra. But that's not something software side. It's like the 5-channel NVR cannot handle more than 5 cameras regarding bandwidth, regarding configurations, and everything else. So do I need to configure my email when using TND cameras using local storage, or email configuration only works with cloud storage? No, email, it's not that email configuration will only work with cloud solutions. That was only one of the things that I mentioned about MX. The way that brand works is they want to receive all the alerts over email. So you can configure the email. But how can I configure the email, and what can I use that email for? So if you go with the network, you'll under advanced set, you'll find email, and there you can put in your sender with the server information that you have, and up to 4 different receivers. Now that email can send you an alert when AI is happening, when motion is happening, or anything else. On Eagle Eye side, when AI is happening, that NVR or that camera will send an email to MX, to MX server itself. MX server will receive that email and will translate that to AI alert. How to make sure that if we lose the hard drive, the camera can still record? Well, first of all, we can go with an SD card inside the camera itself if you're looking for a backup recording capability. So the camera records, the NVR records at the same time. We do have it on both sides. Then again, there is an alert that NVR gives you. It says hard drive loss. We may lose footage, so you can find out what's going on. If you're talking about, it's a general question. If you're talking about bigger NVRs like 40-channel NVRs, 80-channel NVRs, on those you can do raids. Like I do have 8 hard drives. I can connect 8 hard drives. First 4 hard drives are recording. Second 4 hard drives are just backup. If one goes down, the other one will just take place. On those NVRs, even we do have another feature called hot spare NVR. So I can get 2 NVRs of the same model, and they're just doing the same job. If the first NVR burns out, second NVR will take care of it. You want to be more, let's say it's a jail. We want to be, we want to just make sure that we're not going to lose footage at any circumstances. So that case, you can go with third stream supporting cameras, and you can record the cameras at the same time on a cloud storage that you have. So to sum it up, SD card inside the camera itself, going with RAID hard drive NVRs, cloud recording will just figure it out for us. Can we connect alarm and access control to a network via wireless connection? That's something that they need to support. It depends on the model that we're talking about. Like on my side, all the sensors that we have, they are working on a technology called LoRaWAN. it is wireless, but you need to have a specific router that they provide to be able to connect all the sensors that they have. But yeah, that's something that we need to check the spec sheet of them to make sure. Can you explain a bit about the hybrid solutions, analog and IP at the same time? The only thing that we can do on that side, I mean, first of all, on the technical side, to be honest with you, I would recommend to just change all the cameras to IP. But if there's no other way, and you want to have all the cameras online and just add some IP cameras to those, the only way will be going for with XVRs. Like we do have two different XVR models that will support 16 analog cameras, 16 IP cameras at the same time, 32 total. The other model is 8 analog cameras, 8 IP cameras at the same time, 16 total. Don't go with analog to IP converter. I mean, how many cameras was it, Dean? It was like 150 cameras project that we were dealing with. The guy was trying to connect some of the cameras using analog to IP converter, and it was not a good experience. Like they go in and out, they will have some problems. You cannot work with the AI and those stuff. If you want to change the cameras, but there's no way to change the cable, like you want to have the coax cable in, and that's already in the wall, and there's no way that we can rerun the wire. That way you can use the extenders. You can go with Ethernet extender or PoE Ethernet extender, because extenders, they are like master slave. Master side is on the NVR side, slave side is on the camera side. In between, we just need 2 wires. Anything can be. Like if it's a Cat6 cable, we will just connect 4 wires together, going for one hole, and the other 4 wires together for the second hole. But if it's a coax cable, we'll go with those 2 connections. So we can have those coax cables, but change the cameras to IP and use an NVR instead. Any other questions? Great. You do have the email address. You do have my contact information. Feel free to let me know all the feedbacks, all you think about the webinar that we had, and all you want to know in the upcoming webinars that we're going to have. It was a great webinar, and I highly thank everyone for taking the time and joining. Bye-bye.